For Holy Week this year, we are introducing you to the biblical personalities that knew Jesus the best, those who had a direct encounter with him. Over the course of 6 different videos, one for each day of Holy Week, we will encounter 6 people who had front row seats to the incredible real-life drama of Jesus's final week. Each of their stories invites us to consider the Passion in a new way through the eyes of those closest to him. Before we begin, please pause this video and gather a large serving bowl with warm water and some towels for drying hands. Then restart the video. In this installment, we introduce you to Simon Peter, one of Jesus's first disciples and closest companions. Peter was a fisherman by trade. He was bold and brash, a star pupil, yet so misguided. He was often noted to be among Jesus's inner circle, present at many key moments in Jesus's life. Peter has been credited as the first leader of the early church. We read in John's Gospel in the 13th chapter, verses 3 through 8, and then continuing with verses 12 through 16. Jesus, knowing that God had given all things into his hands and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Teacher, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them." Now let us hear Simon Peter's story. He continually baffled me. My whole time with him, one surprise after another. Jesus turned my world upside down, especially when it came to relationships. We would worry about who was his right-hand man, and he always would turn it around with his last shall be first stories. I wanted to know where I stood with him. I needed for him to be my teacher, my mentor, the authority figure in my life. And he was. But then he went and did this that night. Now, none of us were of really high lineage, but we weren't slaves or servants. I mean, at the meal that night, there were people to wait on us. This is service that just comes with any good room rented out for a meal. But I had planned to wash his feet that night. I was overwhelmed with love for him and fear for his life. I had this nagging need to demonstrate to him that I would do anything for him. But before I could even begin, he knelt before me. He insisted on washing my feet. I was horrified. Time after time, he reversed the way I thought things would go, how they should logically go. He just kept doing that. He said to me, "You can't be a part of the family of God, the kingdom of God, Peter, if you don't let me do this." He always kept me off balance. I thought I knew what he meant about serving our neighbors, our friends, and our enemies. And then it seemed like I just wasn't getting it. I had to surrender all my preconceived ideas about how relationships are, how they go, who we love. I had to surrender and let his loving act of washing my feet heal my soul and heal every disappointing relationship I'd ever had. Jesus used water to model the kind of love we must have for one another, a love that serves the least of our brothers and sisters, especially in this time where frequent and thorough washing of our own hands has been such an important ritual and symbol, demonstrating our love for our fellow sisters and brothers in our global community. Let us wash our hands this time in commemoration of Jesus's gift of serving and loving his friends. Take the basin of water that you have before you and wash your own or each other's hands. Dry your hands with the towel that you have gathered and say, "I wash my hands," or "I wash your hands," as a symbol of my love for you. Let us continue in the days and weeks ahead to wash our hands, demonstrating our commitment to love our neighbors.
Today's musical reflection is based on the hymn, The Servant Song.